All right, so we got to page Shin Mem Aleph. And now we're going to keep going over the dikna of Eric Anpin. So it says, but Tleiser b'shlosha asa tikuni dikna shal Eric Anpin. In the 13 different tikkunim of the beard of Eric Anpin, Nevi'im, he says, Nevi'im, there are streams. Them shakim shlosha asa Nevi'u shal shefa, Shem and the Mishka. What is Shem and the Mishka? I got just a second. That's my light is not good enough for me. I can't see it. So he's talking about so these are the streams that come out of the Mochas Tima de Eric Anpin. Mabulan. So Shlosha also Mabuin. So Hamshachos. So he says there are actually Hamshachos is like different pourings out, the different streamings. The 13 different streams of streamings. Shal Shefa, of the Shefa that's coming from the Mochas Timah, Nimshach and Namata, the Dikta, the Eric Anpin, which come down below onto the beard of Eric Anpin. 1 second. Okay, well, what can I do? I'm always a problem with the lighting in my, I don't know how to handle the lighting. I feel like the videos that I make are too bright, and I just don't know how to, what to do about it. Anyway, in many ways, it says in Nimsa, Misparshin Shefa Shema the Mishkan Mischal Shlosha also. So now it wants to say that this Shemin that's coming from the Mochas Timah is now divided into 13. Kafi his Chalkos al Shlosha also Tikuni Dikta in order to be able to divide up the 13 different into, I guess he means into the 13 different paths of the beard. V'amar Odni says further, Ki Shlosha Asa Tikuni Dikna Halulun Nimshachim Lamata Le'ima. So they come down from there and they extend into Ima Hanechlalas Betikun Shlosha Asa Shenikra Mazel L'Tachton that wind up pooling and being incorporated in the 13th Mazel, which is called with 13th Tikkun, which is called the Mazel L'Tachton. The Ima he bechinas Nahra Hamasha Mashke as Oros al Shlosha Aser Tikkunim. 1 second, I still can't see it. I'll just have to do the best I can. What can I say? It's okay. Well, let me try something else. Okay, I'm trying something else. Okay, so then he says, where was I? He says that Bina is the noun shemashka es oros hashlosha also tikuni dikna de Eric Anpin. That Bina is actually that. I'm not sure what Bina is talking about. Imo, he says, Imo is the bechinas nachra shemashka es oros hashlosha also. It's the river that actually brings the liquid or the flow to the 13 tikkunim of the dikna of Eric Anpin. Now, since he said Bina, so I'm just trying to think of how this works. A Bina is attached to the beard of Eric Anpin at the 13th tikkun. He says it says something to do with it. Ve'eder hashlosha asa mischalkin ba'arba b'teisha. So then now these 13 are divided into two different sections. One section of 4, another section of 9. That makes 13. The Hainu arba the nukva. So these, in other words, they're going to ultimately be what is the right word? They're going to be navigated towards the nukva. That's 4 of them. V'teisha l'zer anpin, and the other will be directed towards der anpin. So first of all, let's talk like this. There are 4 tikkunim of the dikna of Eric Anpin, and they don't have any hairs. In other words, they're hairless. They're bare. They're bare. Shehem. So which ones are these? So he says these are the tikkun. Let me just make sure I got that right. Tikkun Shlishi, the 3rd tikkun. The tikkun Hamishi, the 5th tikkun. The tikkun Hashvi, the tikkun Hashneim Aser, and also the 12th one. Now he's going to go through these a little bit. So the tikkun nukva. So these 4 are ones that are directed. I guess they're. I'm trying to find the right word, but they're directed towards the nukva. Now they have her DNA, like that, something like that. Is the machu. So they are all what? closed up from shining down below. Ki einim yodin lahoyer benukva dezer anpin. They only shine into the nukva zer anpin rak la'achar gemar kol tikuni zer anpin. Only, so in other words, they're kept like, seems like they're kept like in a time capsule, something like that. He says, gemar kol tikuni zer anpin, the nukva b'panim. So he says it stays like that. In other words, those four do not develop until the time of Yichud. So now this does actually come through to the nukva through zer anpin. The tesha ashkiim beginsa. Shar hatesha. So now we understand that there's a designation of 4 DNAs that are going to the nuk, and it's going to be only by timing. But now all the other 9, the shar, tesha, tikuni, dikta, the erikanpin, all of the rest of them, they all come down through the agency of Ima, who is near the 13th tikkun of the, attached in some way. He had an explanation in the Idra. It's a little complicated to me. He said, canal, who's called the river. So it's Ima. The question is, I'm not sure exactly I understand how it works. I know you have a beard, the beard is shining downwards. He's saying the actual flow comes through Bina, which is attached, I guess I would say, on the left side of the beard. Or maybe not, I don't know. The Yotzech of the Hashkos as Zer Anpin, and all of this that come from Ima, now is ultimately going to be poured into Zer Anpin, Hamikra Gan, who's called the garden. Commotion to Emma, like it says like this, the Nahar Yotzech of Aden, there's a river that comes out of Aden, the Hashkos as a gan, in order to bring water to the garden. Because of the 9 different mavuin. So he says, what mavuin mean? These streams of oils. Halalu, nisaktim, teshu tikuni dikna, dezer anpin, bismidos. This maintains the beard of Eric Anpin. So let's go on a little bit more, and let's see what this says. Let me just try this on the light. That's all I can do. Okay, so the next one says, Tikkun Arishan. I was going to start going through the Tikkunim fairly quickly. He says, Tikkun Arishan, the Dikna de Eric Anpin, he named Mekom B'Sedin Simichasach B'Ponim Shal Eric Anpin. So the first Tikkun is on the face side of Eric Anpin, Hukach. Mekemei Pischel De'udnin, it's in front of the opening of the ear. Atzel Pesachas 9, Kolomar, B'Makom Hamakuven Neged Hanekesh Shal Ha'oznayim. So that area which is opposite the ear hole. Sham Maskil Tzmichas Saras Tikkun Arisha the Dikna. That's where the first hairs of the Dikna of Eric Anpin begin to grow. Shari Yekira the Istaking. Kisham Hu Haschalas. This is the beginning of the Yitzias of the Dikra Hamikri Yekira. Remember again that this word Yekira, which he wants to translate this like kavod, which is probably right. But it looks like the Aramaic, the Hebrew word, which means precious, and that's why our very, like that. So that's why I keep translating it that way. So anyway, Nikri Yekiro. So in the place where the beard begins, Sham Hu Haschalas Tikkun the Rishon the Dikna, that's where you see the beginning of the first Tikkun. Valmar Old Nachis. Then it says that it goes down. Kisha Sa'aros Hatikun the Rishon Yordim the Pesachas 9. They come down from the ear opening. V'nim Shachim Ad Haschalas Apeh. They continue to go down until the upper lip or the beginning of the mouth. So it says B'Shafiro V'Chasa'aros, and we won't talk about the hairs themselves. Nim Shachim B'Yofi. They start going downwards. They're very pretty. Behind the Rebechem Echad, that is, he means to say in one extension. They're working together. What does it mean? Below his Rachavos, V'Yitzias Aros the Tzedadim, and it doesn't broaden itself out. It stays in its own place, and the hairs don't go out to the sides. Kamo Kain, Ein Has Aros Aruchim. So therefore, since they're all very nicely placed, they're not particularly long. Ve'inim is Davkim B'zeh B'zeh, and they don't really attach themselves one to the next. So he says, what happened to me? I said, okay, so that's it. Okay, I'm still working with the light, trust me. I'm trying to get my light better. So he says, Tikkun Hasheni. Let's talk about the second tikkun. He said the tikkun Hasheni the Eric Anpin Beresha the Sifavon. It starts at the top, or let's see what he means. Hu Hasaros Shabarosh Hasvasaim. It's at the top of the lip. In other words, it's on top of the lip, behind the mustache. B'safa al-yon shall Eric Anpin, the upper lip of Eric Anpin, to say the smichas is aros, so the way that it grows. The high ratio, they grow across from one end of the lip to the other. Mechamrosh echad shall the safa al-yona ad rosh hasheni shall osa safa. So it goes from one side, and it's a mustache goes from all around from one side to the next of the lip. Tikkun the shlishi addicted to Eric Anpin. How about the third one? He says koyim archo hu ha'orech derek ha'omed be'emsa safa al-yona. So there's a little separation in the upper lip. She'ein sa'aras safa al-yona niknasim bo. It's a place where there are no hairs there. The nafik t'chos trim lufin de berdashka. This is because it's directly lined up underneath the nostrils. The Yotze B'tach Shnei Nikva Achait in the openings of the nose of Eric Anpin and Nikva Pardashka, which is called by the name of Pardashka. So he said, "V'nimshach ba'ad makom mapanda Eric Anpin," and it keeps going down, goes down into the place of the mouth of Eric Anpin. V'chatam. So what's the reason? She'orach hazecha b'ponach b'saros and b'saros. There's a reason. Who is because la'ad lo'hovel, in order to be able to remove sin. So that there be a clear path out of the nose, so that it should come on for the air to pass through there. Because he says, let me get that straight. The ruach is called by the name of slicha. So as this comes down on its path and it goes to it reaches the area of the mouth, so when it reaches that place, it's like a current that causes the word salachti to come out. Then the mouth says the word salachti as the breath is coming through the nose, clearing that path and coming down to the mouth of the So therefore, you have to have this path cleared. So that the ruach from the nose should be able to pass through that easily. And then the word salachti, I will forgive, or I forgive, will come out of the mouth of Eric Anpin. What does sifarto means? It's beauty. Let's say so he says this path is called by the name Tiferes. He said this path is hu tikkun ashlisha. This is the third tikkun, the dignity to Eric Anpin, and nikra over Repesha, which is called by the name of Repesha. Now this is one of the ones he said that is designated to find its way to the nukva. He said, so the Indian is like this, this is for how forgiveness comes out. And that Hashem, so to speak, overlooks the person's iniquities. Shin shall pesha. So then, remember, we had this word, we had the word pesha, which means sin. He says you could switch the letters around, because when the nostrils are breathing out this through the third tikkun, and then we have this concept of salachti. He says it changes the word pesha, meaning sin, laos pei. He says you switch around the shin to the fei, and it's the shefa, and now it becomes flow of bracha. So this shefa ultimately is going to come down to zer anpin. And this changes zer anpin. Changes him from the bechina of din to the bechinas rachmim. And therefore there is forgiveness for the sins of the lower world. So let's see now this going on. He says tikkun the revi. Let's go to the fourth tikkun, the digna de Eric Anpin, to chos sifavon. So it's underneath the lips. In other words, the lower lip. Hu tachas hasvasayim behind aras safa tachtaina. These are the hairs underneath the lower lip. The say the tznichas is aras. So how do they grow? Shahas'aras maschilin litzmoach b'tzad small. This is interesting. He says because the hairs start growing from the left to the right. Because where the starts to grow on the upper lip is from the right. So it goes from right to left. Now when it goes, that's the upper lip, that's the third tikkun. But when you come to this tikkun, the fourth tikkun, it's underneath the lip. It starts where the other one left off, which is on the left, and goes to the right. So there's a little detail that the Gora brought over here. So this is matching up there. And I said the third, it's the second tikkun. Asra Sa'ara. On the Sham Sobavim Sa'aras beside small, beside Yamim. So here we see that the hairs are under on the lower lip are going left to right. So he said, ad rosh ha'acher, and they continue to grow until they reach the other end, which will be the right side, shal safa tachton shehu b'tzad yamim, which is on the left side. Coming over here now, he says, v'tiken achamisha the dikna de Eric Anpin, archa achra nachta tochasori. So there's another path that comes out underneath. What is that? This is a different path. He calls it ha'acher, the different one. So this is a path that comes out underneath the upper lip. He says, Kolomar, tikkun achamisha, that is this fifth tikkun, hu orech sheni be'emsa safa tachtaina. So this is actually another path that's underneath the lower lip. I don't know if I said that right or not, but it's talking about the lower lip. And just like there was a path underneath, in the middle of the upper lip, there's also a path here too. So it's balanced out, or it is equal to and directed, or directly opposite, connected orach harishon sheb'em sasaf al yona, which would be the third tikkun, which was on the upper lip, shehu tikkun shlishi. Going on, tikkun shishi, the sixth tikkun, the dikta de Eric Anpin, chafet tekruv the busma. So he says this is surrounded by this is some kind of an incense offering, and he says hu saros hamachazim asadachayim. These are the hairs that actually cover over the cheeks. If you're going, I think from the side of the face towards the front of the face, they would be in the part that still has some hair that bulges out, I think, a little bit. B'hamachazim asadachayim, it covers over the cheeks. Hanikroim orugos abosim. So this tikkun is called the orugos abosim, rows of incense. Kamoshen amber l'chayin lachiyov, or I guess he means his cheeks. Orugos abosim. So this is a quote. He said from Shir Shirim. They say that smichas as aras kachu. So let's talk about how these hairs are growing. He said that the chidas somchim has aras l'kol rochav aponim asher b'tzadi orech hatachton shehu tikkun achamishi. Now let me read this again. He says that the chila, first thing is that the hairs grow l'kol rochav aponim, on the whole breadth of the face, asher b'tzadi orech hatachton, that is on the sides of the lower path. Shehu tikkun l'chamisha, which was that fifth tikkun, which had to do with the path underneath the lips. From the beginning of the sides of the lower path, v'hu tachas safa tachtoina, underneath the lower lip. Ad siyan orech hatachton, until you get to the end of the first path. Shehu b'makom shudolos zakan. In other words, it comes down. This is where this path goes all the way down to the chin. Shudolos zakan. And so, in other words, on two sides of the face, coming down, and I guess it starts moving towards the middle, underneath that path, underneath the lower lip, and ultimately the two sides then start moving towards that middle, and they meet at the chin. And it's a place that's directly in line with the path that's underneath the lower lip. V'na'asa sham aruga achas, and it makes there one row shall bosun of incense. So the metaphor for incense, not really quite sure what he meant to say, but he said something very sweet and beautiful. And he says furthermore, so now they've grown across the breadth of the face, which is that part of the beard which corresponds, I guess, it sounds like a lower part of the beard. So it's that corresponds to that space in the middle. So then from that position where they're really coming down and they're all coming together at the chin, it goes back up. He says Olim, they go up as from this place of the sides of the middle path. Going upwards, everything starts moving up. The ratio to the Eila goes back up towards the head. Until it comes up to the place on the sides of the head and the mouth. In other words, at the top of the mouth, meaning the beginning or the top of the upper lip. And this place, so he's telling you that your beard, I'm looking at my beard, it funnels down below in the fourth tikkun, the fifth tikkun, and then the sixth tikkun starts going back up, and now it's going to be bare. Maybe, let's see. It goes up towards the place of the first tikkun, of the tikkun upper lip. So now we see that the breadth of the hairs that are in the sixth tikkun, miyam in the small, where we're looking at it from the right side to the left side, upon him. So however you're measuring it, if you're going from one side to the right side, let's say to the left, but this is a part that's going towards the chin, which is on both sides of the face. And the way that the hairs range, they go from up to down below. So this is another level here of hairs that starts at the upper lip, or going upwards from the bottom, the area of the bottom lip, going upwards. So they come from the beginning of the upper lip, ad makom shaveres zakan, all the way down to the place of the chin, tachas ha'orach atachton, underneath the lower path. So let's move over here a little bit more, get out of the light a little bit if I can help. So it says tikkun ashri. So the seventh tikkun, what about that? The Bina de Erikanpin, trin tefuchim, are the two apples. Now what's this all about? Hushnei tefuchim. So I would say that, if you ask me, that the sixth one is the more difficult to understand, but he says it's a set of hairs that are going downwards. I thought that's what he said. From approximately the upper lip, on the side of the mouth, and the upper lip going down towards the chin. And these then goes back up that in the sixth tikkun, something like that. So we're talking about the two cheeks. This is a place where there's no hairs. And it gets divided up into two faces, in other words, two sides. Shehem pen yamin, a pen small, so you have a right face and a left face. So these are two completely separate places that have no joining, they don't meet. So why is it called an apple? So we had seen this before, it says that the tepuach, or maybe I saw it other places, is red, white, and green. So he says those are the colors of the apple. Whether or not every apple has those three colors in it, I think that this is the apple that we're talking about of the face of Eric Anpen. So it says it has, and he's making a statement, and the Zohar says a statement a lot too. It says that the tepuach is called that because of the colors. It's chazin l'nan charabutzimim. So now you have these two apples, that is the cheeks, the bare cheeks, shall Eric Anpin, Nirin, and Mizgalim, you can see them, they're revealed. K'dei lahaya, and why? Lahaya to shine, lamata, down below, b'shnecha tepuchim, shal p'nei zer Anpin. So here we see the relationship between Eric Anpin and Zer Anpin is that this area here is designated to shine up to the face of Zer Anpin and his cheeks. Hanikwa, and these cheeks are called butzanin, which is lamps, or or lamps, narrows. For Ha'inyan, so the Indian is like this, Ki Shnei Tfuchim Shal Erik Anpin, these two cheeks of Erik Anpin, bare cheeks of Erik Anpin, the Pa'amim Nirin and Mizgalin, the Hoyer, the Mata, sometimes they appear, and sometimes they shine down below, B'panim, the Zer Anpin, onto the face of Zer Anpin. L'famim Chem Chusim, sometimes they're closed up. V'tamirim and hidden away, and they're not there in order they don't appear or revealed in order to shine onto the face of Zer Anpin. And so therefore, Nikra Tikun Zeh Shuv Yerachamenu, it's called come back, Yashuv, do tshuva, or come back, Yerachamenu for mercy, and I'll bring you mercy. Like Kolomer, or Hatrim Tepucha, this is what it means to say. These two apples, these two bare cheeks, the Erik Anpin, Shahor, you saw some that were closed up. Yashu, they come back, Lehispashe, La'oyer, the Rechem, the Matash, and come back and shine to down below. He's okay, going on. Now the Tikkun Shmini, now we're coming to the Mazel. So he says the Mazel is the 8th Tikkun. The Dikna, the Erik Anpin, the Dikra, Mazel, the Kula. And this is the mazel that is up above. It's the highest level of the. This is the higher mazel related to Abba. And it's going to shine into all of the partsufim down below. So these are hairs of the beard which are on the side of the face, talian ad liba, but they're long hairs. And they go all the way down to the heart. He usually said it's the tibur de liba, like in the middle of the body. Shetaluyim mispashim the mata ad tibur halev, he says it in tibur halev, into that place between the tibur, the real tibur, and the chest. The haino ad makom hachazah. Maybe it means the diaphragm. Maybe it's a good word for that. I don't know. So we're talking about an area which is the upper part of the Sifra T'feres. T'feres is the body, so he says it's the upper part. I says the middle. He says it's the upper part. It means the Bura de Liba means the upper part, that upper half, I guess. I'm not sure. So he says Asher B'Shlish in the upper third of Sifra T'feres. So that's like the Chagat. Beit Talia Eloim v'Satoin, at this place of a Mazel Dezeh, Teluyim Hein HaPartzufim Al all the Partzufim up above, Shehein Abba V'Ima, which are Abba V'Ima, V'Hein HaPartzuf V'Tachtainim, which refer to Zach V'Nok, Zer Anpin V'Nukva. Now we're going to the Tikkun Tashi. He said the Digna de Erik Anpin, so the 6th one, which comes to the beard of Erik Anpin, he says, Inun, his inu him osam asaras akatana. These are these small hairs sheba'ensa over hazakan. So if you looked at the thickness of the beard, some beards are thicker. So this beard is thick. He says they're in the middle of the thickness of the beard. Bein shnei hamazels, and it's an area between the mazel number 8 and the mazel number 13. He said, "V'Talian long nafkin damin da," and as they're hanging down, a teluyam was pashtin b'shava v'yosher. So they all are hanging evenly straight, going and straight. Ve'enim yotzim zera b'zeh, they don't tangle, they don't, one sticks out from another one. She'ina sa'aras misarvin, they don't mix. Zaim zeh. V'ha'inyan, the Indian is like this, ki bein shnei hamazlos yeshnei mini sa'aras, between, if you're talking about the two mazlos, you're going to say there's two different kinds of hairs associated with it. So he says, excuse me, I'll read again. Ki bein shnei hamazlos, in between the two mazlos, yeshnei mini saros. There are two different kinds of hairs that are found in between the mazlos. Saros and mispashnin b'shava, so there's a group that are all even. Ve'im and misarbin zebazeh, they don't tangle. Sheni saras misarbin, then there's another one that do tangle. Yachad zebazeh. So v'hi necha b'tikkun at the she. So it comes out that the 9th tikkun, kol shnei mini saras elo, it has within it these two different kinds of hairs. Amnam igra hatikun hu hasara she'ena misarbin. So he wants to say the main, I guess, thrust of where the shefa is going to come through is going to be from the the sa'aros she'enim misardim, the straight hairs, he has sa'aros she'misardim, because what happens with the ones that are mixed in with each other, hema b'telim, they start to nullify himself, and they're all tangled up, keneged elo hasa'aros she'enim misardim. So in other words, the straight ones have a better chance of, I'm not sure exactly what that was trying to tell me, but that's what he said. So let's go on to the next thing. So Tikkun Asiri the Dikna de Erikampen. Here's another Tikkun. Is Chafin Zeirim al Gorona de Yikiru. So they cover over the little hairs that cover over the throat of Erikampen. Who Saros Katanim Tachas Zakan. They're underneath the beard. Hachoipim Amachasim Esacheda Ka'elyon Shalagarin, and they cover over the upper portion of the throat, which is probably underneath the behind the chin, going down right in that area. Hasamot Ledikta, which is near the beard of Erikampen, Hanikri Yakira, which is the beard of Erikampen, is called this precious one or this glorious one. And then he says Vahasaros, the hairs themselves, Elo Misardin and Misbalbalin, they're all confused, they're going all over the joint Zamzeh. Ki Eidim Shavim, because they're not the same length, they're not equal in any way. Zamzeh. Ela Echad Yotze, but one of them sticks out. Yosef Mechaveru, and then the next one, Ve'echad Arok, one is long. Yosef Mechaveru, one the other ones. Okay, moving on. So he said, Rabbatiko na Achadas, and I'm up to number 11. He said, the dicta de Erikampen, who Gam came Sa'ar Sha'ar Hagarim Tachas Azakan. So now this is another set of hairs that are also attached to the throat, so to speak, and they're underneath the beard. Kamosh Sa'aros Tikkun Asiri, just like the 10th Tikkun. Elaret Shesa'aros Tikkun Asiri, because these hairs of the 10th Tikkun, those hairs of the 10th Tikkun, Haim Sa'aros Katanim, they're little, and Misardin Zabazan, they're all mixed in together with each other, tangled. Ve'elu Kavedu Khan, and then the number Tikkun Echad Asar, and the 11th Tikkun, Ravavim, they're big. Haim Sa'aros Gedolim, they're big hairs. He says, Mit Sha'arach B'Dishira Shalim, and they have the same measurement, and they're measured b'shir shalom. In other words, they're all perfect length, or exact length. The hainu she'ein as'arid mu'ravim, they're not mixed, muvuvalim, tangled up with each other. Zem zeh elachim shavim, but in fact they're all equal. Zem zeh she'ein echad yosei mechaveru, one does not stick out from its neighbor. Ve'ein echad arach, and one is not longer yosei mechaveru than the other. Well, now we're getting to the tikkun Mishnei also. We had the 12th tikkun here. He said, the dikta de Erikampen, who's sifavon itzpanun mikol citron. It's the fact that the lips are bare. The hiyoshas falsayim penuyim sa'aras mikol tzad. There are no hairs on the lips. There's no hairs growing out of your lips. So there's nothing should hold back the ruach that's going to come out, I guess, of the mouth of this ruach, this upper ruach that we're talking about, the Erikampen, which comes out of the mouth of Erikampen. So he says, Shahu Ruach Kadosh. This is a Ruach Kadosh. It's a very special, holy Ruach. Shemislavshim bo call me shoroy lehislavo, so that everything that is fit to be enclosed is enclosed there. And he finishes like this: Zachar leman denashik me'inim nishikin. Ashrei l'mei shenashik me'ilach nishikin. The person that kisses these kisses. What does that mean? Shehem Sod HaMishikin. This is the concept of kissing, part in the process of Yichud, of Zivug. Sod HaMishikin Animshachim Be'ez Ratzon, which come about, these kisses, at a time when you're accepted and loved by Hashem, and Hashem has open arms for that, as Erikampen does. This comes from one of the tikkunim that was called by the name Hechla Ratzon, or one of the. He says one Motzei Pi Havaya, which comes out of the mouth of the Rai, because it comes out from the upper mouth. Beside Shakenim in the Shikos Pihu, which is like the Shir, which is as water me with the waterings of your mouth. Now, Nasha, I guess it means it's something like kissing too. But Nimshachim Derek Hasfasayim, and all of this comes out, so to speak, through the lips, in the upper lips, Hapanuyim is Aras Besot Kahut Hasheni Sifsal Sayach. Like we said, if you hit a second set of hair, he says Mis Aras Besot Kohut Hasheni Sifsal Sayach. Whereas that's another pasuk. The Yotzim Chutz the Peh, they come out from the mouth. Besod Shiva Chavolim, of the concept of 7 different vapors, which is another, or different breaths, which is another Indian by itself. Shuhu Sod Shivua Al Yona, which is another concept which I don't know these words, of the upper oath. Okay, so let's do number 13, and we'll be done with that. And we'll see if we have time to do a little bit more. He said, Tikkun Shlosha, also the dicta de Erikamp, and this one. Bahachu Mazel de Kulo. So he says number 13 is the granddaddy, it wants to say, of Mazels. Who osa Mazel Latachton. So this is referring to Bina, actually, which he says is the river that pours everything out. It's through this Mazel that everything has to pass through. So the Nogdim place in Meshichin the Pasmona. He said Pasmona Darke. This is the phrase you see in the Zohar. He says Ubo in this number 13. Nemshachim Shlosha Aser Shmonim Shal Aparsmon. So you have these. So I know what a persimmon is. A persimmon is like a real sour lemon. So it means something else from where this language comes from. Slightly different. I say Shmonim Shel HaParsmon Tacho. So this pure incense called the parsimon, which is pure. The Indian Shmonim Ela. So when we're talking about these Shmonim, he says Shefa Shlosha. Shefa Shlosha also Tikunim. The Shefa, they come from the 13 Dikna. Shosh. So in other words, the flow that comes into the beard from the Mochus Dima, the Mikra Pasuk Shem and Tov, and its Pasuk calls it good oil. The Moshe and the Emar, as it says, Kashem and the Tov, al Rosh, like this good oil which is on the head. He says, Yered al Hazakan, it comes down onto the beard. So this is the Mochus Dima pouring into the beard. Behind the Shem and the Parsman, and this particular called is this incensed, or this perfumed oil. Shuhu Hashem and Yoser Tov Mikol Shmanim. So if you want to know what Shem and Parsman is, whatever it makes sense to be, maybe this has a beautiful smelling flower as well. I don't know. V'hu Shem and Tahor below Shum Shmarim. This is the most pure oil. That has no dregs in it all. Koloma, the shefa hanimshach memochus lima, the shefa that comes from the mochus lima, ein bechem shum din klal, has no din at all. Shein bechem the shmarim, where he says the dinim of the concept of dregs, of the leftovers of the wine or the oil, so to speak. Kulu v'kol eiler shlosha also shmonim the parsman. So all of these 13 different oils of the parsman tahor, the shlosha also dekuni dik, they all come into this area. This comes from the pool of all of the 13 behind Mazel Shkiach. This is where you find this. All of he's calling it the shmonim of the parsman. So all of these beautiful fragrances, all of this perfume coming out of the Mostimon, Nimsoim, Bezechah, Mazel Latachton, they're all found over there. The Mazel Latachton, Ki Kol Shlosha Asa Tikunik Dikna, Nechlalim, the Mazel Latachton, because all of the 13 are incorporated in the laws of Mazel, because Shefa Al Yonim, Abatachtonim, Tuluyim, all the upper Shefa depends on this Mazel, because that's where everything, this is the ultimate release point. The Besasim, the call is Shefa Chazeh, and then it closes up though. All the Shefa could be closed. HaNimsech b'Mazel L'Tachton Hu Sasim, it's closed up. Ki Einu Nikar ve'Einu Nira. So this is what he wants to say. You can't tell what it is. It's unfindable. It's there and it's doing this. But it's the Einu Nikar, it can't be recognized. Ve'Einu Nira Ech Yotze Mispash b'Menach HaShefa. It's not, nobody understands how this bracha, this light of bracha is coming at us, because it's closed up and hidden outside of our ability to find it. The feature of the Mala Erikampen, because in Erikampen is closed up. She'ein bo saga v'das. He has no saga and das. Let me stop that right now.